Hey everybody, good to see you all again. Obviously, we're not having class this week because of an interview that is taking me to Texas. I'm excited about it, but I'm bummed because I'm not going to get to see you all until we do our speeches to commemorate special occasions of some sort. So what I want to do in this short video is, one, I want to talk about the assignment a little bit and make sure that we're all clear on what's expected of us. And two, I want to go over the slides that we were meant to cover on Wednesday. So what I've done is I've uploaded the slides to Blackboard, and you'll be able to download it, access it, and follow it along with me as I talk on this video. So it's a shorter lecture than normal. It was planning to be a relatively short day. We were meant to have the lecture and then a bit of an activity where we get together and have a plan to put together these special occasion speeches, but that's obviously just out of the realm of possibility. So instead, we are going to talk briefly about what special occasions are, how to perform speeches in the context of a special occasion, and of course, what's to be done when we encounter a scenario like this. And so before we get to that, I do want to talk about the actual speech. It will be a week from this Wednesday. So this Wednesday is the 28th. In exactly 1 week, I believe that's December 5th. We'll be meeting at our normal time and place, and we'll just have everybody do their special occasion speeches, and then we'll be out of there just like that. When you give your special occasion speeches, that is the final thing that you need to be graded on. So when you give your special occasion speeches, just like when you gave your me speeches, you're going to need to hand in not only your rubric, but you're also going to need your speech plan for the special occasion speech. Now, unlike the persuasive and informative speeches, this does not need to be a particularly detailed or rigorous speech plan. You don't need to have resources. You don't need to have a visual aid. It's just like the me speech. It's a 2 to 3 minute speech in which you commemorate a special occasion of some sort. And we'll talk about examples of this when we get into the literature. But if you go on Blackboard and if you open up the rubric, you'll see it's pretty much identical to the me speech rubric. It's just basically about your introduction, your body, your conclusion, your ability to flow well, and your ability to adhere to the time limit. So it's a chill, relaxed speech that I don't want y'all to stress too much about. Focus that stress on your other academic priorities right now. But just do remember, you do need to do some preparation work for this. I would recommend practicing it at least a couple of times before you get going with it. And you should come in ready to speak. And remember, you also need your rubric. But there are no evaluations or anything like that. All you need is your actual speech plan and, of course, your grading rubric. If you have questions about what's expected of you after this video, feel free to email me. I'll do my best to get back to you. Remember, it's going to be difficult to get in touch with me between Wednesday and Friday because I'll be out in Texas interviewing, but I will do my best to get back to you. I'll certainly return emails over the weekend, and so keep those questions coming if you've got them. So without further ado, I just want to give that quick lecture that we have from the gun book on speaking in special occasions. And so at this point, if you haven't done so already, pause this video, download these slides that are now available to you on Blackboard, and follow along with me. As we enter the second slide here, meaning the first slide after the title, it basically just tells us what a special occasion speech is, and it's really exactly what it sounds like. It's a situation that takes on a ceremonial service of some kind. Now, messages that are communicated during special occasion speeches are usually influential in some way. And that's an important note to make, because what this means is that special occasion speeches are closer to persuasive speeches than they are to informative speeches. When we speak in special occasions, we are trying to accomplish something, and specifically what we're trying to do is pay homage or pay notice or pay attention to something interesting that's going on. So the majority of these slides, as I'm sure you've already browsed through already, is just to differentiate the numerous types of special occasion speeches that you can give, and they're all subsumed within this idea of being an influential person. And so we'll go over several of the examples. If you skip to the third slide right now, you'll see the first example is a toast. A toast is a very common special occasion speech. We give them at weddings, we give them at funerals, we give them at holidays. Sometimes we give them if we're reminiscing with friends or if we've accomplished something, but surely we've all been present when a toast happened at some point. If y'all want to give a toast for your speeches, that's absolutely and totally fine. It's one of the more common speeches that I see in this class. So tips for a toast, above all else, keep it light. Toasts are not meant to be detailed. They are not meant to be all-encompassing. You don't need to touch on every little element of the speech. Really just give your audience a good preview about what you want to talk about it, and then end on some sort of note. I would also really recommend having a central theme. And where do you get a theme from? You get it from the concepts that we've talked about earlier in class. For example, you might want to use narrative to tell a story about yourself or about the person that you're toasting. If you're toasting at a wedding, for example, you're going to want to talk about how you know the bride or the groom or whoever you're toasting to. You're going to want to talk about how you've influenced their life and how they've influenced your life by sharing stories, mutual stories that you've both experienced. There's nothing wrong with incorporating quotes, humor, tales, examples, descriptions, and even demonstrations in your toast. But again, this is a 2 to 3 minute endeavor, and so we want to keep it light, we want to keep it relaxed, and most importantly, we want to keep our wits about us, meaning that you don't want to give a toast when you're absolutely hammered. Drunk toasts never make for a good situation, so always have your wits about you, and then after the toast is over, feel free to begin the nefarious endeavors after. But for toasts, it's all about keeping things relaxed and chill and in a good way. That is the number one thing that I should stress. I'm going to just continue going through these because there's really no point in me interacting with you all as I normally would. So it'll be a relatively short lecture, but toasts are a very common element. If you don't feel like giving a toast and you journey with me over now to slide number 4, another thing you can do is introduce a speaker. In fact, I once had students from a COM 225 class introduce each other. I had one student introduce his sister, and then she gave a spoken word poetry. And that was their special occasion speech. And they went one and then the other, and it was really cool. It worked out really well. So don't be afraid to work with each other as classmates. That's really fun, and it's an opportunity to do this. So if you've got a friend in class, maybe one introduces the other. So in an introduction, we want to make sure that we stay within ourselves. We want to make sure that we locate things like biographical information about this person, and that we've done at least a little bit of research about who this person is and what they represent. If we're introducing a friend, this research is usually already done for us. But if we're at a work event, we want to make sure that the person in question doesn't feel like we're leaving anything out. As the person introducing the speaker, it is our responsibility to welcome everybody and to talk up the speaker, because if we're introducing someone, the focus should be on them and not us. So we really want to make sure that we know that the audience is informed of what the person's going to talk about, who they are, why they're qualified to speak this way. And of course, this should all be done within the context of the speaking situation. Now, another thing that it is our responsibility to do when we're introducing someone is we want to make sure that the listeners are aware of what to expect. This means letting them know how long things will take, letting them know if there's going to be a question and answer session, letting them know the general flow of the event. These are all extremely important things, and it is our job as the person making the introduction to let people know. I've said time and time again, audiences develop expectations about speeches. When we are introducing another speaker, it is our job to set those expectations. Obviously, the best example I can give is think about any of the speech days we've had so far. Who introduced those speech days? I did. And it was my job to remind you what the time limit was, what the process was, that people's names would be generated randomly from a list, that we had to limit questions and answers because we were running low on time, and everything in between. That's the introduction person's job. You're sort of a master of ceremonies, but again, it's about the other person, it's not about you. And so as you give your introduction speech, it's important to, again, list credentials, list qualities, use humor if you feel it's appropriate, and then end with a welcoming of the speaker. Just introduce them. And now, without further ado, this is the person. Speaker introductions are something that I see less commonly in this class, but if you feel like you want to introduce someone, or if there's a hypothetical situation that you would want to live out, feel free. I've had students in the past do things like induct people into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've had people introduce the winners of fake awards. And everything in between. I've had people delivering a fake newscast. So you can really get creative here and use your imagination. You don't need to be introducing someone real for a real event. Moving on to the fifth slide, you don't just have to introduce someone, you can introduce something. For example, a ribbon cutting ceremony or some sort of event that's about to kick off. If you're an entertainer of some kind, an actor, a singer, a DJ, or something like that, you can kick off an event by giving a public speech. And we do this by first establishing the relevance of the event. What is the event? Who's there? Why are they there? And what's going on? We want to make sure if we're introducing an event that we preview the most important people who are to come. So if there are keynote speakers, for example, we want to make sure people know who's speaking, when they're speaking, and what they're speaking about. And the best way to do this is to just preview an agenda. Let people know the order of operations, when things are going to happen, how they're going to happen, why they're going to happen. And then, of course, it's your job, if you're introducing an event, it is your job to set the emotional tone. If you're at a rave, this means being energetic and full of life. If you're at a business conference, it means being mature and dapper and in a situation that you can take control of the event. And most importantly, kick the event off. Have a catchphrase, have a witty remark, have a joke, have a line to end on to let people know that your speech is over and that the real event is about to start. So you can introduce people, you can introduce events, you can give a toast. And then another thing you can do that's sort of related to a toast is a speech of tribute. A speech of tribute can take the form of introducing someone or something. But often a speech of tribute is something that we do in condolences of someone. So we give speeches of tribute when we lost someone and we're speaking at a funeral. A eulogy is a speech of tribute. Sometimes a toast at a wedding can be a speech of tribute. Other speeches of tribute include talking about your hero. Again, I had a student induct someone into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Anytime we're paying homage to someone, we are speaking in the form of a tribute. So as we do this, we want to consider things like using visual aids. Maybe people deserve to see a picture of the person who we're tributing. But maybe they don't. If we're introducing someone, they're about to see that person, so we don't necessarily need to highlight them like that. Other things that we want to do involve making some sort of connection between you and the audience, between you and the person you're tributing, and of course between that person and the audience. And the best way to do that is through incorporating themes of some sort. We want to make sure that we are all in the same realm when we introduce someone. And of course, this involves being positive, optimistic, enthusiastic, enjoyable. And if there are people who know or are related to the speaker in question, make sure to acknowledge them as well. If there are people who have contributed to the success of some sort of endeavor, acknowledge them. As we speak to tribute someone, we want to make sure to tribute not just them, but everything around them, the support system around them, the network that has helped them become who they are. And a lot of this depends on who you're tributing. For example, if I was going to give a speech of tribute about my hero, Derek Jeter, I would talk about all the great things that he did, not only as a baseball player, but as a humanitarian and a philanthropist, and just as a general human being, and the things and the people that he's inspired. Speaking as a sign of tribute is quite common to be done. We talk about our heroes, we talk about our mentors, we talk about people who are no longer with us, and everything in between. Moving on to the seventh slide, you can give a speech of acceptance as well. Speeches of acceptance are often usually when we're receiving an award of some sort. And I've had students make up all kinds of crazy awards that they've received. I've had people make up awards as the best public speaker of all time. People have given fake Oscar speeches, Grammy speeches, Emmy speeches, Tony Award speeches. They've made up entirely new awards that didn't exist. Speeches of acceptance can range from any sort of made-up award to a real one as well. And when we give a speech of acceptance, we want to thank others. when we're accepting an award, we're already being honored. So we don't really want to talk about ourselves. We want to put the focus on others. So we want to be prideful of what we've done, but we also want to be humble. We want to make sure that people don't think that we're being cocky. And we want to, again, focus on others. We want to thank our support system. We want to thank everyone who was there for us. And of course, we want to be brief, which is why if you've ever heard an Oscars speech, they play that terrible music to kick people off the stage if they're talking too long. Nobody wants to hear you stand up there and blow the aid for 10, 15, 20 minutes. They want to hear you acknowledge others, be humble, and enjoy the moment. You know, when you're receiving an award, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the moment. And take that time to preview what's to come. Are you retiring? Is it the end of your career? Is there more to come? Provide a glimpse into the future. Let people know what's to come next and what they can expect out of you. And so as we accept awards, again, the number one thing is be brief, and the number two thing is be humble. Last but not least, if you come with me to the very last speech, there is the speech to inspire. Inspiring speeches are those designed to motivate people, to perhaps persuade people, to induce some sort of behavior, and to reconcile any doubts that people are having. Look no further than Facebook for examples of these motivational speeches. They exist all over the place. Some of them are short as a minute and a half long, and some of them are as long as 10 minutes long. But speeches to inspire are all around us in every movie we've ever seen. Pick a given sports movie, a political movie, an action movie. There's always some sort of motivating speech to inspire. And as such, it's a very common speech that people use in this class. I've had tons of people congratulate COM 225 on an excellent semester. I would say maybe avoid doing that one because it's overplayed, and there's usually at least 3 or 4 students who do that in the same class, and it's a little bit awkward. But if you must, it's not off limits. Just know that when we're speaking to inspire, we want to focus on our audience. We want to be entirely centered on them. We want to make sure that they know that they're the focus and that we exist to motivate them. And this means giving them stories and examples for them to use. Tell a story from your life. Explain how you hurdled an obstacle or beat the odds in some way, and explain to them, connect it to them. You know, if I can do that, you can do it too. And this occurs when we reveal our humanity, when we expose our vulnerabilities to other people. They like that. People like to feel like other people are capable of being damaged too. And it makes us feel at home with each other. So always expose yourself, reveal your humanity, be vulnerable in front of your audience, and that will provide the connection necessary to really inspire people. But above all else, be confident. You have to speak with strong energy. A speech to inspire is not the time for you to be relaxed and chilled. It is the time for you to be energetic and motivated and ready to go. Nobody wants to be inspired by somebody who's got too much chill. So we want to eliminate our chill. If we're feeling really chill and we want to give a nice relaxing speech, choose something else. Give a toast, pay homage, give an acceptance speech, but don't speak to inspire because that requires a lot of energy. It also requires a lot of emotional spurring, as do persuasive speeches. We need to get our audience passionate about what we're discussing. And unlike most speeches, the speech to inspire ends with its highest level of impact. So if I'm giving a toast, there's usually a progression. It goes up, 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 up. It peaks, and then it cools down. When we speak to inspire, we just go up and up and up, and we end with our climax. Every sports movie, every action movie ends with the inspiring speaker yelling and being at full volume and full velocity at the very end of the speech, and that prompts the protagonist or the good guys to go do their thing. And that is a key takeaway from the speeches to inspire. We need to make sure that we end at our highest peak. We don't want to cool off, and that's why I say this is where we turn the chill off. We want to be hot for this speech. So I know I went through all of that quickly. I wanted to keep it at around 20 minutes, and I see I'm approaching that mark. I wish I could have met with you guys on Wednesday to talk about all of this with you in person. We could have had some cool activities. I had some really interesting ideas. that could have gotten us going, but unfortunately that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. So use your time on Wednesday. Use that time that you would normally be in class listening to me go on about who knows what. Use that time to select a topic, to study it, to rehearse it and practice it, and to get motivated to give that speech. And again, if you have any questions, please don't feel like you're bothering me by reaching out to me. It's my job to take care of y'all and make sure that you succeed in this final portion of the semester. You guys have been doing a great job thus far. Please keep it up. We have one more speech to go, and then you're done. You're all excellent at what you do. I'm very excited to see you all on our final meeting day next Wednesday on the 5th at 6 o'clock p.m. I'll be there, and I look forward to seeing you all. Take care.